Ladies and gentlemen, today my guest is Avery Breyer. Now, she crafted the exact billionaire lifestyle. How did she do that? By being able to pay off her bills and control her finances so that she can live anywhere in the world at any given time. Listen up and stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Billionaire Lifestyle Podcast. You can find the podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. If you want to get a direct download and get more information, please go to emmittmuckles.com. That's EMMITTMUCKLES.com. Today, I have Avery Breyer with me. I've been after this woman for about 2 weeks, and I finally have her because she's all over the place. She's literally not in the United States. She's hanging out in Mexico, where I have minus degrees. She probably has 80 degrees. So, such is life. Hey, Avery, how you doing today?
I'm great, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely awesome. You are a very busy, non-busy woman, and you are the epitome, literally the epitome of the billionaire lifestyle, because it's literally not about having the most money. It's about having a billionaire worth of resources for living.
Yeah.
And you have seemed to craft at that. Can you give me a little backstory on how this all developed to where you don't have to be location centric and you have this freedom to live the life that you directly crafted?
Well, I always tell people, a lot of people are skeptical when they want to have this kind of, whether it be location independence and literally be traveling like we do, or simply to work from home online and have more freedom over their day to day. And a lot of people think like there's a lot of crap online and a lot of scammy stuff that's not true. But at the same time, people have to know that there are people like me out there who are normal people. Who have managed to create a life that allows them to have more freedom and that kind of thing, and work online. So those things are possible. So yeah, we were living just a normal life a while back, and just were feeling, once we had kids, we really felt the burnout from the 9 to 5 a lot more. Before that, the working 9 to 5, my work was never 9 to 5, but my full-time job, it was. I had free time in the evenings when I was off, or if I didn't go in till the afternoon, I had the morning off. If I worked all weekend, I'd have a couple days during the week off, and I could do what I wanted, and I lived for those days. And then once we had kids, your free time kind of disappears, And so I was I really felt the burnout then in a magnified kind of fashion. And so what I was looking forward to was the day when I would have worked at my employer long enough to get 4 weeks holidays a year, and my husband would have worked at his job long enough to get 4 weeks holidays a year. And the reason I was so excited about that was because we'd noticed a few years ago, we'd like going to Hawaii, and we noticed that if we went for a month or 2 weeks, it cost almost the same. Because when you went a month, a lot of the owners would give you a really steep discount for staying a full month. And to rent a car for a month versus 2 weeks is not very much difference. And so groceries you're going to be buying at home or there. It doesn't matter. Like, we don't stay in hotels. We would rent a condo. And so once I got wind of this thing, it's so much cheaper a month than 2 weeks, or even if you go a month every second year compared to 2 weeks every year, you're only buying airfare once, so that alone cuts down on your cost per day of holiday, right?
Yeah.
And so anyways, I was really looking forward to this 4 weeks thing because I wanted to go to New Zealand, I wanted to go to Australia, I wanted to go to Europe, I wanted to go to Asia. And I thought, well, those places are so freaking far. To fly out for 2 weeks when you're going to spend the first week adjusting to jet lag, 2 days on either end of your holiday are going to be travel days. It just seemed like a lot of effort for such a short time. So my husband got his 4 weeks holidays just like I did. We went away once for 4 weeks. That was Hawaii. We weren't very adventurous back then. And we came back and his boss said, we're never doing that again. Because they were too stressed out having my husband away for 4 solid weeks. So I was like, oh, well, crap. That just peeves me right off. So I was like, well, now what are we going to do? Because I really don't want to have to wait super long. We've been looking forward to this. So I'm pretty persistent. And I guess optimistic too, because despite all the stuff, my only ticket out that I could see was figuring out a way to earn a living via my computer, despite the fact that it would have to be a completely new job for me. And so the optimist in me, well, it knew that there's a lot of crap out there and a lot of stuff that's not true, and that's I don't know what's this like. There's a lot of snake oil salesmen out there. Let's just say
there are.
And so while I knew that was true, the optimist in me thought, well, surely they're not all a bunch of liars. So I just have to find the right people to follow that can teach me what I need to know to have that freedom that I want. And so I'd been kind of dabbling in it a little bit here and there for a few years, but I really ramped that up when we had kids. And what finally turned really changed things around for me was I joined a community called Location Rebel. Sean Ogle runs that. And there, finally, I felt like I found a tribe of people who, number one, didn't think I was being ridiculous and just a dreamer. And number two, people who were working towards the same kind of goals I would. And so that kind of thing, I found that really, really helpful. And so through there, I discovered SEO writing, and I gave it a whirl. And it turned out to be a game changer for me, because that finally, after I'd been slaving away on this little niche travel website for a while, and it was making me a profit, but certainly not enough that I would brag about it to anybody. It's not like it was anything life-changing. It was coffee money. So with the SEO writing, it was finally something that was actually making significant money that could be a game changer. And then after I saw that going, because I'm not very good at doing just one thing, never have been. So I like variety. And also part of it, I think, is, my books, a lot of times I talk about having backup plans. And I do that with everything. I don't like having all my eggs in one basket. I like to know that if this craps out, well, then I can go and steer my energy into that thing that's kind of cooking on the side. And if that doesn't work out, I can go into this other thing. So I didn't want to put all my eggs in the whole SEO or anything. And frankly, just to keep life interesting, I didn't envision myself writing articles for other people 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. So I've kept that as a part-time thing. And then I started doing self-publishing on Amazon. And so that's been a lot of fun. And so I'm kind of doing a little of this, a little of that. I still dabble a little bit in that old niche site once in a while, because I have in the back of my head, well, maybe I could turn it into something significant. And I put in so much work, it's hard to let it go. But so that's how it all kind of came together. And I'd been reading travel bloggers for years who were traveling with their families full time. So I was like, again, the optimist in me was like, okay, well, if they can do it, then, well, I have faith in myself. I can figure stuff out. I'm sure I can figure out a way too. And so between those blogs, other families doing what we're doing now to give me the courage to try, and that community I joined, it set me up for a good start. And so, we've been doing this almost 2.5 years now. And it's the best thing we ever did. I mean, it's a lot of work. I always tell people, never expect that you're going to jump into this and it's all going to work out beautifully, just super easy. It's not going to work like that. Like I compare it to university. I mean, I went to university 6 years. I was between studying and my part-time job for those 6 years. I was putting in 80 to 100-hour work weeks, which was exhausting. But it was a means to an end, because I graduated and I got a job that paid me a hell of a lot more than I would have gotten if I'd just gone straight out of high school and tried to work my way up somewhere. So if you pick the right degree, that can happen for you. So I kind of am always comparing the online income thing to that it's going to take a lot of work. You're going to have to invest in tools, knowledge, whatever, to get ahead, but that it's possible if you can find the right information.
And
then
you had some things that were driving you as well, because you had some health scares in the past, correct?
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, yes, absolutely. When I was...
Did that change
your mind?
Did that change your mindset?
Oh, without a doubt, because when I was 18, I was told that I had a 80 to 90% chance of being diagnosed with multiple sclerosis based on the test results I had. And so I'm like, okay, well, if that's what the studies show based on someone with my kind of profile, that sucks, but okay. Everything around there everything going forward had to be done with that in mind. So now, I mean, I'm 40 now, so it's been a lot of years since that initial thing that happened. So now I'm in a good place because my odds of being diagnosed with it are minuscule because most people don't make it this long without something happening.
Yeah.
And I did. So now that's gone. But from, most of my young adult life and that kind of thing, that was in the back of my mind. So even when we built our first house, we built a bungalow because I was thinking, well, you know what? Okay, this MS thing hasn't happened yet, but odds are it will. If I'm lucky, it won't, but odds are it will. So if it does,
and you don't want to climb stairs, huh?
right. Well, because, there are some people, I mean, MS is a funny thing. There are some people who have just attacks once in a while, but in between, they're pretty much able to live a normal life. But there are others, like there's a woman at work where she had it really bad. She was on disability. She couldn't work. She was in a wheelchair, incontinent. The meds she had to take for all of her symptoms made her mentally even have trouble with focus and memory. Like her life was destroyed by this disease. So I thought, well, if that happened to me, I don't want to have to, on top of it all, have to move and worry about finding a new place to live because my current place has a bunch of stairs and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, bungalow was the answer because it was all on one floor. I thought, look, and there's enough room on the walkway to build a wheelchair ramp one day if we need to. Hopefully we don't, but it's built so that there's room for one in future if we do need it. And so yeah, everything has always been like plan A, B, C for sure.
So your parents kind of set you up for success when you were very young in how they gave you a financial education through actually showing you or giving you some ways to go when you were very young. Did that transpire into your adult life and where you saw the world differently than most of your peers, and how did your peers think of your actions? Because, when people are kind of frugal about their money or financially responsible, people don't understand that because they only think in the short term.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was lucky. Because my parents, we always talked about money. Like money was always talked about at the dinner table, and even things like, don't depend on raises every year. Your father went through a 10-year spell where they were cutting back at work because it was government related. So he was actually getting pay cuts every year along with his whole department. House prices can go down. Our house at one point was worth less than we bought it for, but you ride it out long term and it goes up eventually if you hang in there long enough. And you got to make sure you can write out these things. Everything from, when I was a kid, we had piggy banks, which seem out of style right now. I don't know. None of my friends' kids have piggy banks, so mine don't even use theirs. But when I was a kid, anytime relatives would come over, they'd give us I don't know, back then it was probably some quarters or whatever, right? And we'd be all like, ooh, money. Once in a while I'd get silver dollar, which was rare because you never saw silver dollars, or a 50-cent coin, which was also rare, you'd never see. And so we'd stash them all in our piggy banks. And my parents said, that's for when you're 18. So whenever relatives or friends and family would come over, they'd be like, oh, here, you want something for your piggy bank? We'd all be like, yay, we'd be all excited. And we'd stash them in there. And so everybody knew it was with the understanding that this was being saved until we were 18. So that was the start of the savings thing. And then I guess I was around, I think it was about 11, possibly 12, but I'm pretty sure it was 11 because I think I was in grade 6 at the time. My mom took me to the bank to open a bank account because she wanted me to see how, I was about to be old enough to babysit where I lived. Where I lived, you had to be 12 before you could legally babysit. You had to take a course and then you could babysit and earn cash on the side. So she knew that was coming up. So she opened a bank account with me and my name. And she said, well, this way now, any money you earn, you save half of it. So when you start babysitting, half the money you earn goes into this savings, and you're going to see you're going to get interest. So that's like free money. And then the other half you can spend on what you want. And then when you get a job when you're older, do the same thing, when you're in high school or whatever. So I used to babysit for families all over the street, and I'd take my stash of cash and half of it would go in the bank and half I'd spend on whatever. And so, yeah, all that starting out like that, I think was really helpful because when I talk to other people now, it seems most families, money just isn't talked about openly, not very commonly anyways.
That's very true.
So it was very different for me because then even as I did get older and I realized with friends or anybody else, whereas to me, if a friend would say, well, what'd you buy your house for? I'd be like, oh, it cost this. Because I'm thinking, well, I'd love it if someone would share that with me too, because I want to know what people are paying for things. Because then when I go to buy, I know if it's a good price or not. I don't have to go to a real estate agent or whatever. I can find out because I can compare notes. But people don't I quickly learned people don't talk that way. They're not open about that. Or if you say, even in the same profession you're in, where wages are pretty close, don't vary a ton where you work. But even then, if it were up to me in a perfect world, I'd be the kind where I could say to someone, oh, well, what are they paying you? What did they offer you? Okay, well, this company offered me this. Like, not as a, and not, I don't know how to explain it, but for me, it's like information sharing and gathering to me is a good thing, because we all get smarter for it, and we can make better decisions if we know what things are. But yeah, like I said, I quickly learned normal people don't talk like that. So I don't do it either, because I know that that's like a faux pas, right? But I think it's unfortunate, because I think it would be better if, as a society, we were all more open about money and what things cost, and all those things, because we could learn a lot from each other, as opposed to being so tight-lipped about it.
Hey, you're talking about SEO. Did your books come first, or did your freelance writing come first? Which one?
Freelance writing came first, yeah.
And then that led to you doing your books, correct?
Well, they're unrelated. The only relation was that community, because I got the notion of doing the books from hearing of other people doing well with it. So the SEO writing, that's completely different business from my book writing business. Completely unconnected. My SEO writing clients have no idea anything about Avery Brier's books or any of that business. And then now going forward, since I did start writing books, I thought, well, I'd like to teach other people how to do this too. But if I do that and I market myself as an SEO writer who's written books, then I'm kind of cheating, because that's not, most people don't want to write a book, frankly. And so most people aren't going to be in that situation. So now going forward, because I like to test to see just a normal person with just a normal writing samples or whatever can do, I still keep them very separate. Because I really want to make sure that what I'm saying happens is attainable for the average person. Granted, they're going to have to work, but it's not hard. It's just a matter of going through the steps and doing it. But yeah, so totally separate.
So your SEO. So are you a SEO king? Are you fully functional? Because SEO is like physics to a first grader, to someone who's getting in it. And I'm still learning it myself, and I just downloaded Yoast to my website, and it's just like, oh my God, all these things I just had no clue about. So do with your community, because you have a Facebook group. So do you guys talk about SEO? I just joined probably 2 days ago.
I'm still trying to feel what people want to know about in that group, because some people, it seems the majority are there, because for people that join, I've asked them to introduce themselves and say what they want to learn. And the majority are interested, I think, more in the money management stuff than the SEO writing stuff. So I'm trying to get a feel for what people want to know. So there's not a ton of SEO writing discussion in there at the moment. But we'll see how it evolves, because it's a really young group right now. I think it's only like a week and a half old. So
let's go through your books really quickly. So you have Road to Wealth.
Yep.
Then you have Paycheck to Paycheck.
Yep.
Then you have Turn Your Computer into a Money Machine.
Yeah.
And then How to Raise Your Credit Score, which is a good one.
Yeah.
And then, so do you have these in hardcover and softcover?
No, because I haven't figured out a way to make them into hardcover. So I've gone the path of least resistance and just done the paperback and the Kindle versions.
So, I got you. So are you going to turn these into audiobook?
The credit score one, I do have an audiobook, but it's not for sale. It's a free download that if anybody buys the paperback or the Kindle, they can sign up for my email list and get the audiobook as like a free gift or whatever. The Money Machine one, I have an audio recording of it now, which I'm turning into like a mini course with some free downloads and worksheets and stuff like that. So that's coming. It's just a question of when I can do it. I've got 3 out of the 8 chapters done, so but it's time consuming to make all the slides and stuff. But and then the other 2, the short answer is no, nothing yet. I want to do it, but nothing done yet. It'll take time.
And do you mentor people? So this is actually a 2-part question. Who are your mentors, and do you mentor people directly?
So far, I've been trying to go the help people en masse kind of route. You know what I mean? With the books, and then the SEO writing course is kind of a more structured way to help somebody. Because it's a tough thing. The mentor question is an interesting one, because when I first started going into the whole online space and trying to figure this thing out and how it all works, I know everybody says, a lot of people were saying, oh, just get a mentor and this is how you do it. And they made it seem like, oh yeah, you're just going to find some person who's doing really, really well, and they're going to have time to help you one-on-one and all this stuff. And then I quickly realized that ain't the case. They're all too busy running their businesses. Thank you very much. So I was like, oh, okay. All right, fine. So that's actually just makes for good blog posts, I guess, but it's not real life. So real life, I've discovered the best way of doing that is, honestly, I buy people's courses when I want access to them. But not all courses will give you access to them. Like I had bought some courses on running, that had a lot to do with SEO and stuff like that, because I wanted to know how it worked. And some of those that I bought, you bought it, and you could ask, if you had some questions you could ask, but they weren't designed for you to have a lot of one-on-one with the course creator. It's more like if there were technical problems with the course, like, oh, I forgot my password, or, oh, the video isn't working in module 1, they would fix that. But it wasn't intended for you to be able to ask them questions. So I started off buying courses like that to try to get some kind of access to people I want to learn from. And then I've upped my budget for courses. So now I tend to buy pricier ones where there is some kind of ability to interact with the course creators, so that I can ask questions and pick their brain. Because, sometimes people put together courses and including myself even, you put together and you think you've explained everything, but you don't anticipate all the different ways that everyone's minds work. So some people might take what you've said differently than what you meant, or there might be something that you didn't explain that your mind made the mental leap because you've done it. But as a newcomer, they need that connection made. And so so I started being pickier about that. So the way I get a mentor, if you will, is to buy access to either a course or a community where I will have that ability to email them or Facebook message them or be in their group and get access to them or whatever. And so that's what I do now if I do need access. And I'm also aware there's like tiers of access. There's like one group that I'm in, which is fantastic. It's a free group, and there's something like 25,000 people in there. However, because there's like so many people in that group, the course owners can't realistically be like one-on-one with people. They're more there to just kind of cheer you on, steer you in the right direction, but they can't give you a ton of whatever. So I bought their course on Facebook ads, and I think I spent an extra $100 or $200 to get access to their Facebook group for a few months, because then I'd have the one-on-one detailed answers if I needed them. So what I would say to most people is if they find something they want to learn about in detail, see what you can learn for free first, because that'll at least give you a clue as to whether or not it's something that you're willing to work on that suits your personality and your skills and that kind of thing. And then if you know there's something that you really, really want to learn, but you can't do it on your own, then you got to then pay for access. Because realistically, while there are some one-off cases where you hear someone having a mentor, like those blog posts say, in my experience, that's totally fluke. Because most people I know were not able to accomplish that ever. They all had to buy courses or whatever to get in. And I realize that could sound self-serving because I sell a course, and I honestly swear to God, I don't mean it that way. It's just been my experience. So yeah.
So you're a very good orator and you convey your thoughts very well. Have you ever been on the speaking circuit, or do you ever do appearances or anything like that, or on book tours, or things that go along with with personal appearances?
I'll be honest, I don't know how to get on the speaking circuit, to be perfectly frank. I don't even know how that works. So the answer would be no. At podcasts, I got on a radio show in New York. This is after the first book. That was live radio, which was nerve-wracking for me at the time because it was the first time I'd ever been featured in mainstream media in my life. So I was like a nervous wreck. But the producer found my book in the Amazon store. He said, sounds like it'd be a good topic for a show. And the guy that was interviewing me was some 5-star wealth manager, top of the $1 million. He had like all these fancy schmancy things. He's part of it. And I was like, holy crap. Wow. He wants to talk to me? Me? Seriously? I was like, wow, that's so cool. But I was super nervous. But we were in Bali at the time. And so I ended up doing the interview. And the funny thing was, I didn't have very good internet there, and I didn't even have a cell phone that would call New York City. So I ended up, the guy that owned the villa we were renting, villa really sounds fancy, but it's not. It's just like a house, but they call them villas there for some reason. So, anyways, when in Rome. And so I had to, the owner of the house, the guy that he hired to like take care of the maintenance of the grounds and stuff like that. I paid him to drive me on the back of his motorbike to the 5-star hotel that was there, who agreed to let me use the phone at the front desk to phone the radio station. So I called into the show and they interviewed me live and all this stuff. And so it was really quite amusing. And I had to go on the back of a motorbike because in Bali, there's a lot of like little skinny lanes. Like not all the lanes that go to the houses are wide enough for a car. So yeah, back of a motorbike to the 5-star hotel, did my interview in the lobby. And then the guy picked me up on his motorbike, drove me home. And this was at like 9 p.m. So by the time I came home, it was probably like 10:30. But because of the time zone difference and it was live radio, it was just whatever. So that's my one time, like, mainstream thing. But yeah, with our traveling, I suppose it would probably be kind of difficult to actually do stuff like that too often.
So how many places have you, how do I say this? Have you resided
in?
Since you started this non-geographical, non-geocentric lifestyle?
Yeah, we've been, our goal is kind of like, we want to find somewhere to retire to, because in Canada where we're from, it's too cold. So I want somewhere tropical. I have my heart set on somewhere tropical. So we're trying to find that. So that's where some of our travels have been purely just because we want to explore, and other times we go a place because we want to see if it could be a long-term home base. So Malaysia, we tried out Malaysia. Air quality problems there, ruled that out though. It was a great country. Enjoyed my time there very much, but for part of the year they've got air quality trouble because there's palm oil forest being burning and all that jazz. So Chiang Mai was another home base for us. Loved that place. It was a nice place, but again, air quality problems at certain times of year. Plus, because I guess it sits in a bit of a valley, the smog from the motorbikes and whatever, it hangs in the air. And to a normal person, it wouldn't bother them because of my crazy eye problems. The slightest bit of pollution in the air, my eyes sting and burn and they're uncomfortable. Like it's no good for me as a day-to-day life thing. And Vietnam we were in for a while. I really liked Vietnam, but again, it was, I don't know, it wasn't quite the right place. And sometimes internet could be an issue there for what I wanted to do. So beautiful place to visit though. So those are 3 home bases. Bali was a home base for a while. Internet issues were a big thing for me. And then the other thing in Bali, if something really bad goes wrong health-wise, you have to get on a plane and get out of the country to get care. You'd have to go to Bangkok, I think was the nearest, in Thailand, to get really good quality care. So I didn't like that because as a home base, I want to know that like if something bad happens, like I'm 40, my husband's 44, like, we're getting to that age where sometimes people do have freak heart attacks. Like we're pretty healthy, but who knows? I don't want to die because there wasn't a hospital around that could have saved me, or if what if I have an aneurysm or something, like I want someone around who can save me. So that ruled out Bali as a permanent base. And we love Hawaii, but it's crazy expensive.
Yeah,
but right now, I'm really enjoying Mexico. Actually, I'm in love with Mexico right now. So it's looking promising. But we'll see.
Which province are you in?
We're on the Yucatan Peninsula.
And are you originally from Toronto?
No, I'm from Manitoba.
Ooh, it is cool there.
Oh yes, beautiful hot summer, but winters are not fun.
Yeah, and you don't get much hockey down there. Were you a hockey fan too?
You know what? We have to keep this a secret because if the Canadian government finds out that I'm not into hockey, they might revoke my passport. So we're going to keep that on the down low.
So how can everybody, if anyone's interested, how can they contact you?
Probably best is just through my website. That's the easiest. They can do Facebook too, but I know with Facebook, if we're not Facebook friends, it goes into my filtered file, and I try to check those because I know Facebook is trying to keep those from me because they think nobody wants to see their messages from people that aren't friends. But anyways, best way, safest way is email, like just use the contact form on my site because I always see those. Whereas Facebook, it's, sometimes if I forget to check them, it might be a while before I reply.
And that's Avery. And it's her name is Breyer, but it's spelled AVERYBREYER.com.
Perfect.
So make sure you go there if you want to contact her. When you purchased your first home, that was in Manitoba, correct?
Yeah.
And how did you manage to pay it off? I don't know how much it was, but I'm sure it was
Okay,
several.
well, here's the thing. Anybody that wants to do what we did, the key is whatever the bank says they're going to lend you. Like, because most people, I suspect from what I hear, most people go and they say to the bank, okay, how much of a mortgage will I qualify for? The bank tells them, they go, awesome, and they go spend it. I say, don't do that. Instead, look at. I think it all comes down with being you got to track your money and figure out what is the bare minimum that you require to pay for your transportation, your heat, your water, your clothing expenses, your whatever, and all those things. Food, that's a big one. I can't believe it took me so long to mention food. Food is huge. All those things that you need. Figure out what's the bare minimum, like what you absolutely have to spend on those. Because let's face it, we all have optional things, right? Like we don't need to buy the pre-roasted chicken. We could buy the one we roast ourselves and save a few bucks, right? So
Yep.
just to come up and figure out what we need. And then once you got that, how much is left over? And the leftover money, again, with a buffer built in, because there's always stuff that happens, it's unexpected. But figure out then what's a safe amount to put towards a mortgage payment and how fast your mortgage will be paid off if you do that. That's what I would do. And that's what we did. So when we decided what kind of house to build, and like we built from scratch, we bought the lot and then we went to the builder and we got blueprints drawn up and we did it that way. But anyways, whether you buy a pre-made house or you're building one, whatever way you go about it, or a condo, anything, you got to go about it looking, okay, if I want to pay it off in 5 years, at this interest rate. The good thing is you can lock in interest rates for 5 years if you want to, although we did a variable interest rate because statistically over the long term you're almost always farther ahead if you do variable than locked in. But anyways, you figure, okay, based on today's interest rates, how much a month do I have to stick into this mortgage payment to get rid of it all in 5 years? And that's your answer. You just got to reverse engineer it. And I think most people don't do it that way. But I think there's at least for people I know too, it's possible. It's very possible to do that. One of my friends, her and her boyfriend at the time, they bought a house the year before she graduated. He was already working and whatever. And it was just a little house. And to this day, based on her job and his job, the bank would gladly lend them money for a huge fat mortgage and they could live in a very fancy house in a fancy neighborhood and whatever. But they lived in this humble house. It's well maintained. It's a safe neighborhood. It's a good neighborhood. It's less than they can afford per the bank or whatever. But it got paid off within, I don't remember how fast they paid it off. It was super short though, because by the time we all had kids, they had no mortgage. So I'm pretty sure it was within 5 years that they paid off theirs as well. But again, it's all about buying less than what the bank says you can afford. Instead, you look at what's good for you, how much you can afford to put into this sucker, and figure that out.
I like the tagline that's on your website. Whatever your dream is, I'd like to help you get it too. And then here's the really important catchphrase, or here's a really important statement. The only catch is, I'm not going to be your how to get rich quick person, which is so very vital because everybody wants, because of this society, they have us thinking of strictly immediate gratification from the propaganda from media. And it is not like that because, for instance, when you watch television, they never have a bill. They never have a cell phone bill. They never have a house payment. They never have any dilemma dealing with finances, and everything works out in less than 30 minutes. And actually, if it's a half an hour program, it's like 16 or 18 minutes. And that sets into people's mindset that everything has to be immediate. Even myself, I had to reprogram myself and say, we're going to go the route of the turtle versus trying to be the hare. And I like the fact that you've set out these series of books because they kind of complement each other. But 2017 is coming up. What is in store for Avery in 2017?
Oh, what is in store? I don't know, more of the same, I think. I'm always just trying to figure out what's the best use of my time. I hope one day, I've always said, my real estate, some people think, oh, you own real estate, you must be living the high life, but they forget that if you do it the conservative way, you're probably, and you don't live in a market where real estate's going crazy, odds are it's going to be a slow and steady thing. So that's just like a retirement lockdown thing. So I still got to make sure we have enough money coming in to live off of today. So yeah, it's just figuring out what is the best use of my time. Should I get more SEO writing clients and increase my income from that? Should I write more books and do that? Is Amazon going to be friendly towards my books and help me make money, or is it just going to be a lot of effort without much return for my time? Should I work on getting word out about my course more to increase income from that? It's just weighing what's probably the best use of it, and what I can do that will be of use to people. Because obviously, if you can't be of use to someone, just whether you're a nurse or a doctor or the cashier at the grocery store or an accountant or a person pumps gas for a living, ultimately all of us only make money by being of use to somebody. And until we're rich and famous, if ever, we're going to have to keep finding ways to be of use to people to, support ourselves. So yeah, I think it's just a matter of figuring out how best to be of use in a way that allows me to pay my bills and help other people at the same time. And it's, just strategizing. I wish I had a short answer, but I never do. I always have too many ands, ifs, or buts floating around in my head.
But that's actually a good way to be, because what you just said is something that so many people can actually absorb. And here's the reason why. We get to a place in life where we're trying to figure it out, or we actually make progress, and we get to the point that we've been seeking. Once we get there, we don't know what to do.
Right.
And you said it perfectly. Stay the course. Just stay where you are. Stay working your program, your vision, whatever you've made in place. Just stay there. I think about it in terms of weight. I do this frequently, like once a year. I'll get down to this weight, and then so you have to cut calories, work out more, blah, 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 blah. And then I don't know what to do because I'll keep losing weight. So what do I do? How do I, so I have all this muscle, but then I lose all the fat, and then I'm cut, and I'm like, well, if I keep working out, I'm just going to get smaller, but I'll get bigger. But if I don't work out, I'll kind of stay and maintain for a couple, and the same thing is with finances too.
Yeah.
So, but you said it perfectly. Just stay the course.
Well, and the thing people have to remember is most of us, we're going to have to stay the course for a long time. I mean, when we were in Malaysia, the guy we rented from, he did much like we did in terms of buying rental properties. But his life is different than ours, because for him, property values doubled in less than I guess it was something like within 5 years or something. Whatever he bought, it doubled. So now he's got, in Canadian dollars even, $1 million worth of property paid off.
Wow.
So he's retired. And he's the same age as we are, but property values went way, way up. So where he lived, he was fortunately on right time, right place, right circumstances. Whereas there's a lot more people than people know that are, more like us, where you're just, you have whatever you have, but you definitely have to keep a long-term view, because if you're hoping for anything to happen short-term, more often than not, you're going to get frustrated and disappointed because it's not going to happen fast enough. But if you keep your eye on the long-term prize, the long-term goal, most of the time, if you plan carefully and plan for enough contingencies, it'll work out.
So with your properties, how do you maintain them being so far away from them? Or are they all over the place?
We had to hire... No. They're all in the same place, because I'm pretty all the real estate gurus, they're all like, oh yeah, there's one I read that a guy has a property in this country and a property in that country and a property in that country. But the thing is, he's super rich. So he can afford to lose money more easily. And to me, if you buy property in a market you don't know, you're at higher risk, because you're not as familiar. You haven't had a lifetime in that property market to know what they're doing. You can't be there. You can't just, most of us can't afford to go hop on a plane, just here and there, just to go and check on how the property's doing. And yet, to me, the best way to learn the ropes is to be there in person and see it. So yeah, we managed it ourselves up until we left. And then because we were leaving, we had no choice but to get a property manager, because not to have someone with boots on the ground, if the toilet breaks down or a tenant moves out and they got to show it to new tenants, you need somebody there. So yeah, we ended up having to hire someone. But that being said, when you're what I term a small-time landlord, which is how I would consider myself to be, in most cities, I think there's limited number of property managers you can choose from, because a lot of them only like to deal with the big guys, the guys that have like apartment blocks, or they have 100 houses or something like that. So your options are fewer. And I think because of that, the competition to provide really good service is less. Like, because I look at what we pay our property manager, and I'm like, oh my God, for the amount of hours they put into it for a month, it's a good gig. But we have no choice, because the other options that are less expensive were too risky. And then there was another option in town that a lot of people used, but they suck. Like every house we ever looked at that was managed by them, tenants said, oh, they don't call us back for 3 weeks. They don't. I'm like, I don't want my tenants to have to wait 3 weeks to get a toilet repaired. I want them to be on the ball and get it done within a couple days. Like, that's what I would expect if I'm living somewhere. So, I'd like them to be on the ball. So we pay a little more to have somebody with a good reputation. But again, because there's not a lot of competition to serve people like us, the small time landlord, it's not cheap, but whatever. I mean, long term, in the end, we'll still be fine. But it's just sometimes annoying to pay what we pay when I know darn well the number of hours they put in makes it a very sweet hourly wage for them. And if you divvy it up,
And with your communication, so do you have a Twitter?
I'm barely on it. I am on Twitter at Avery Breyer, but I rarely. I think I used it a little bit in the beginning, and then again, it comes down to where's your time best spent, right? And I was like, I just don't know if my time is best spent on Twitter. So it's there, and I don't remember the last post I made. It might have been a month ago. It might have been longer. So it's kind of a dead zone. Facebook's better. I'm on Facebook more.
So if you want to find her, that's Avery Breyer. You can go to Facebook. Or you can go directly to our website, which I said is AVERYBREYER.com.
You got it.
We're about at the end of our allotted time. I usually try to keep it kind of brief because I understand people have attention spans like mine, which are very short. And I want to get the best information, but I am so happy and thrilled that you were on the podcast, because I just reached out from you because I just found you on Amazon, and I was just so intrigued by your book series.
Very cool.
And, that's just, I realized something from Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Work Week. All you have to do is try. And that's what most people don't do. They just think, oh, so they'll never talk to me. All you have to do is ask. The worst thing that can happen is you could have said no, and you didn't. And I appreciate you so much for being on the show.
Oh, it's an honor to be asked. And I tell people too, aside from trying, people's got to remember to stay optimistic. I saw Gary Vaynerchuk did a really good, he did a little, I don't know, was it Facebook? I came across this video, did on optimism and how he wished he could bottle it and give it to people. I was like, yes, it's so true, because if you're going to try to do anything, whether it be invest in real estate or get your finances under control or build a business from scratch, anything, you got to hang on to that optimism that it's possible, that if somebody out there could do it, why not you? Even if it's hard and it really sucks right now and you're going through the grind phase where everything is so hard, just to remember that whatever it is that you want, whatever it's about, if somebody could do it, you can too. You just have to figure out how, and it might take a while, but you can do it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to contact Avery, one of the best things to do is just go to Amazon and type in Avery Breyer, or go to her website, and it'll take you to Amazon as well. But in closing comments, here's what I want to say. We are capable of far more than we think we are, and all you have to do is try. That's the most important thing. Show up and try your best to produce. Once you do that, the world will open up to you. Remember, look into the mirror and love that person that's staring back at you. And with that, we are done. Peace.
Great advice.
Have an awesome day. Thank you, everybody. Till next time, we're out.